Welcome back. This is Uhfgood, and we are continuing with our little simple person with a hat, or about smooth meshes. And actually, I almost could have finished this section here in the last video if I had stopped it a little bit too early. But I was trying to make sure that I'm sitting exactly around 12 minutes. And talks about scaling. Scale it, move the mouse pointer to get it what you want. You can use the grab tool to move it. And then press tab to make sure the viewport draw type is solid. Okay. Make sure the head properly connects to the neck. Okay, so here we want to just scale it a little bit, like so. Now we want to go ahead and switch to object mode. And if you notice there, it's a one thing. Everything looks good. I'd almost put an extra bit on the arm, but this will be okay for right now, I guess. And now I get to save it. Save your work in a blend file. Control S. So Control S. Oop. Okay. Let's call this B3D Noob Man. B3 Noob Man right here. Save Blender file. I wish I wasn't so dang sweet, so dang sweet, so dang sweet. I wish I wasn't so dang sweet. You are like cinnamon. Okay, so now I saved it right, and now we're going to go to detailing your simple person, which means we're going to smooth it. Few real-life objects have perfectly sharp edges. People, in particular, consist mainly of smooth surfaces. How does one model a smooth object using flat faces and sharp edges? This module, you'll learn how to smooth a mesh by using subsurfaces and smooth shading. You'll need the simple person model from the previous module. If you haven't done it, either go back to it or download a pre-made model, which is fine. Model doesn't look solid. Your viewport shading setting might be set to wireframe. Switch it to solid shading. No problem. Okay. Subsurfaces. So far, all the meshes you created had sharp edges, giving them a faceted appearance like that of a cut diamond. To model a smooth object like a human body, you might think you might need a huge number of vertices and faces. Subsurfaces partly solve this problem by automatically subdividing a mesh into a finer mesh suitable for smooth rendering. You subsurface in Blender by adding a subsurf modifier to an existing mesh object. A modifier is simply an algorithm, automatic process that can be added to an object. Blender modifiers are analogous to Photoshop adjustment layers. To get started, make sure your Blender is in object mode with only the simple person object selected. Okay. To add a subsurface, click on the modifiers tab, wrench icon in the properties window, add a modifier subdivision surface. Okay. The object's appearance should immediately become more faceted and rounded. In addition, several subsurface controls appear on the modifiers tab. If the modifier has been added but hasn't actually been applied yet, applying a Blender modifier is analogous to flattening a Photoshop adjustment layer. Okay, so let's do that right now. Let's go to the modifiers. Let's add a modifier. Let's add a subsurface modifier wherever that's at. Subdivision surface. Wait, yeah, subdivision surface. Okay. Just making sure I was sure. These little controls here are pretty handy when you can't remember the rest of the controls. Okay. Few faces don't subsurf. May include some double vertices. Blender crashes when you attempt. It's not going to crash though. Default subdivision surface modifier. One level of Catmull Clark subdivided each face into the object into 4 smaller faces that are progressively angled. This softens sharp edges of the original model where the faces met at 90-degree angles. Controls. I need to see some here. Let's see what happens when I do this. You can't see it because the light is actually bigger. Let's do something here. Let's take the light object and let's move it. Let's grab and what, Z? Grab Y. Okay. What's this? This is look dev. I don't really know what look dev means exactly. And then just shading. So we'll leave the shading part. Anyways, I'm wasting time here. Wasting time. Okay. Controls. For this model, 1 level of subsurf isn't quite enough. To increase the number of levels to 2, just increase the number of the text box directly under subdivisions. The view setting controls the number of subdivision levels visible in the viewport. This is very useful when you have a very high poly scene. Just decrease the number of visible subdivisions to speed up viewport action. Okay, so let's go back to this guy, and let's go to view setting, render. We're actually already at 2 though. So let's see what happens if I do it at 1. If I do this at 2. And this is what it will look like at 2, and which is actually what it's set at. Okay, no problem. Accuracy of vertex position. Lower the values faster but less precise. I don't know if that is going to do anything. Doesn't matter. So we got them both set to 2. I guess the idea is you render at like a high number, say. Let's like go really high. Let's go to 6. So this still remains quick, and probably Eevee doesn't even matter. But so this remains quick. You leave the view at 2 to get an idea of what you're looking at. But if you want to get it to go, this is the full thing. See, if I did do the render in where's it at? If I did it in cycles, oh, right. So if I did it in cycles, And I don't know if you can hear it, but my fan's going kind of nuts right now. So instead I'm going to go back to Eevee. Now let's go back to the modifier. And let's put everything back down to what, 2 is what the visibility is going to be 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to regular shading mode. There we go. Okay, so shading mode doesn't have to do with the light, really. Alright, so what's next? Additional levels of subsurfing to be used during renders. For extra smooth renders, you might want 3 levels of subsurfing. You set this with the render control immediately below the view control. The apply button applies the modifier to the mesh. Do not click it yet. We'll be playing with the model a bit longer before you apply changes. While useful with some modifiers, applying the subsurface modifier produces very complex mesh. So there's no need to do so here. Okay, so the question I want to know is, in 2.8, is it the same way with the modifiers in here? Let's select this again. Is there an apply button here? Fire name. Oh, there is an apply here. So apply will actually just set it, and then the mesh will be what that is. So I see what they say by non-destructive. So basically, like it says, as far as Photoshop goes, it's the same way with GIMP. You have layers, right? And so you keep on messing around with the layers until you get what you want, and then you have to flatten it to output it, which means just collapse all the layers. And to essentially bake it into the final image. So that's the similar thing with here, is you have this modifier on here, and the mesh is still what the mesh was. This is just as a modifier, modifies the mesh. So probably you can even save it like this, and it won't apply it. But once you apply it, then you can't adjust it anymore. I mean, you know, you can mess with it. You can re-add a modifier to it, which might make it even more, you know, that ways. But so yeah. Anyways, we're come to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next video.